Hello and welcome to McLaren Port Huron's Today's Health. I'm your host, Barb Winters. On our program today, we're going to be talking about midlife health issues and menopause, and joining us for this discussion is board-certified obstetrician gynecologist, Dr. Amanda Hurtubise. Dr. Hurtubise, welcome back to Today's Health.
Thank you. It's good to see you, Barb.
What age range are we talking about when we're talking about midlife women, and what are some of the common health issues?
Sure. In general, I would say midlife, when we speak gynecologically, is mid-40s to mid-50s. Common health concerns for women in this age range gynecologically can be problematic periods or transitioning into perimenopause and menopause. Overall health, other things women we talk to them about or can be concerned about are things like high blood pressure or diabetes, oftentimes weight management, thyroid. So chronic health issues sometimes come to roost in this midlife time.
All sound very relevant. So let's start with menopause. What is it and when does it occur?
Okay. The definition of menopause medically is when the ovaries stop producing enough estrogen to regularly have a period. That also means that the ovaries are not releasing eggs anymore, so there is no longer a potential for fertility. We deem a woman menopausal when she has not had a period for 12 consecutive months in the appropriate time frame, meaning this midlife time frame.
What are the stages of menopause then that a woman might go through?
Sure.
Or does it just happen slam bam?
Well, yes and yes. Every woman's menopause is different, and I think that's one thing that I really like people to understand is that it is not cookie cutter, that every woman's hormones are different and how they experience their menopausal transition is different and individual. But in general, the first stage is what we refer to as perimenopause, and that can be a time frame of even 5 to 10 years where the hallmark is typically menstrual irregularities and a slow decline of hormones. As the hormones, meaning mainly estrogens, progesterones, and testosterones, decline from the ovaries, the periods become irregular and women can start experiencing symptoms such as mood changes, fatigue, hot flashes, night sweats. Again, depending on the woman, that can last between 5 or 10 years until ultimately hormone levels decline to the point where they stop having periods. Once it has been 12 months, then we call that actual menopause. And some people will say then going from there, you're postmenopausal. Another condition we call premature menopause can happen in women who are much younger, sometimes even in their late 20s and early 30s. And that's where the hormone production from the ovaries stops, like in menopause, but for other reasons, whether that's genetic or medical conditions or what we call surgical menopause, meaning for whatever reason, the ovaries needed to be removed for a medical reason, and so the woman is placed into menopause.
Let's talk a little bit more about those symptoms. You mentioned a few of them, and I know they can be troublesome or they can be mild, but tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So hormonal symptoms really can be head to toe. So we'll look at that as well as systemic. Many women, as their hormone levels decline, of course we talked about the classics, which are menstrual irregularities. Sometimes that's skipping periods or stopping periods. For many women, it's actually heavy, frequent, and bothersome bleeding, and anything in between. Women also notice changes in vaginal dryness, discomfort with intercourse, more frequent infections down below because of changes in tissue. Hair, skin, and nail changes for many women. The hair can become drier, the skin can become oilier, and you may even start having those breakouts again, like back when you were in your teenage years. Hot flashes, night sweats, sleep disturbances, meaning poor or interrupted sleep. And then some women have some mood changes, irritability, mild depression, that brain fog. Where did I leave my keys? I can't find that word, even though it's at the tip of your tongue. And then sexually, many women experience changes in their libido or their sex drive. They're just not as interested as they used to be, or sensitivity isn't there, or they have actual pain with intercourse. So this whole spectrum, one woman can have all of the above, or more commonly, women have certain things, or at one point in their transition they may have very bothersome mood changes, and then that gets better and now they have hot flashes and night sweats. So it's very individual, but most, if not all of that, can be attributed to their hormonal state.
How do you tell if it's menopause, what stage it is?
Sure. Well, I find that I get the best idea by sitting and talking with my patients. Tell me what's going on. When did this start? What's happening? You know, bring it all in together. Because there are some medical conditions that can mimic some of these symptoms. So usually taking a good history, doing a good physical exam, I get a very good idea, as would most practitioners, as to what are we dealing with. But you can actually prove the point by doing blood work, and we check for specific hormone levels in the blood. And we know kind of where they should be depending on where a woman is generally in their life cycle. If a very young woman, for example, has very low hormones, we're worried about that premature menopause that we talked about. If a woman is 47 or 50 and she has low hormones, then we say, okay, this is normal perimenopause. If a woman has very normal hormones, then we say this might be a thyroid disorder or some other medical condition. So the labs or the blood work is important, but talking to the woman, hearing what she's going through, really helps me the most.
Well, and I love that because some of these symptoms are vague.
Yes.
And I think for women, all of a sudden to start having all of these crazy symptoms, it's almost like, wow, what in the heck is going on? And then you hear all the myths about menopause, and then you start, oh my gosh. So what are some of those myths you've heard?
Yeah, and you really hit on something that I deal with every day. A lot of times women will have these symptoms, oh, you're just hormonal, or oh, that's just your age. Well, yes and no. It doesn't mean we have to put up with it. So that's the biggest myth that I think women struggle with, is that you just have to put up with this because this is just the way it's supposed to be. Well, you're 50, of course this is how you feel. You're 60, of course this is how you feel. You're 37, you're a busy mom, of course this is how you're supposed to feel. Whereas really, I think that's not the case, because there are a lot of things that we can do to help women improve their quality of life. While it is normal to be perimenopausal or menopausal, it's not normal to sacrifice your quality of life or your health because of those symptoms. So the second myth then is that treatment for perimenopause or menopause, meaning hormone replacement therapy, is unsafe. Hormone therapy, depending on the type, can be very safe and used for the long term. And I think we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But those are the two big myths: that A, women have to suffer through it, it's natural, just get over it, and B, that there really isn't anything safe that we can do about it.
A great place to stop and take a break, and then we are going to come back and talk about some of those treatments. But first, this message.